Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Fluent Path English. I'm James.
And I'm Emily. Thanks for joining us today. James, have you ever had one of those moments where you wonder, what if I'd done something differently in life?
Oh, totally. Sometimes I think about what might have happened if I had taken a different job or moved to another city. It's fun to imagine all the possible paths we could have taken.
Exactly. And that's what today's dialogue is all about.
Right. In today's conversation, we hear two men talking about their lives. They seem pretty happy with where they are now, but they also take a moment to reflect on how things might have turned out differently.
Yes. You'll hear some great examples of third conditional sentences and expressions used to reflect on past decisions and life paths.
All right, now let's jump into today's dialogue for the first time.
This is the good life. We have it good, don't you think?
Yeah, of course. Although, don't you ever wonder what could have been?
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes I think of how things could have turned out if I had done things a little differently.
For example?
For example, if I hadn't studied architecture, I would have become an artist like I wanted to.
I see. Yeah, now that I think of it, I wouldn't have gotten married if I hadn't moved to this town and met Sally.
You see, everything happens for a reason. We wouldn't even have met if I hadn't been in that car accident 10 years ago.
Well, I have no regrets.
I'll drink to that.
That was a thoughtful and nostalgic conversation. I love how they reflect on their choices and how everything connects.
Yeah, and the use of the third conditional really stands out. It's such a natural way to express regret or wonder about past events.
Exactly. Phrases like, if I hadn't moved, or if I had done things differently, are all part of this grammar structure.
And despite imagining different outcomes, both men seemed at peace with where they are now.
Right. Now, let's break down some of today's key phrases and expressions that deal with reflecting on the past and imagining alternate realities.
All right, let's start with the phrase, we have it good.
We have it good.
We have it good.
This phrase means that our life is going well. We're in a good situation. The word it refers to life or our current situation. It's often used when someone wants to express appreciation for their circumstances.
Right. In the dialogue, when the man says, this is the good life, we have it good, he means they're lucky or fortunate to be living the way they are.
Here's an example. My job is stable, I have a great family, and we live in a nice neighborhood. We really have it good. That means their situation is fortunate and comfortable. They don't take their good life for granted.
Okay, next up is the word wonder.
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 This verb means to think about something with curiosity. It's a little different from think, which is more general. Wonder is used when you're unsure and imagining possibilities.
Exactly. In the dialogue, don't you ever wonder what could have been? Means, don't you ever imagine how life might have been different?
For example, I wonder what it's like to live on a boat. It shows curiosity, not just a simple thought. In this case, the speaker is imagining what life would be like in a very different and unfamiliar situation.
All right, now let's talk about turn out.
Turn out.
Turn out.
This phrasal verb means to happen or develop in a certain way, especially the final result of a situation.
Right. In the dialogue, sometimes I think of how things could have turned out if I had done things a little differently, means he's imagining how his life might have developed in an entirely different way, how one small change in the past could have led to a very different present.
Exactly. Here's an example. Even though the event started late, everything turned out fine in the end. That means the result was good, despite early problems. So the final outcome was positive, even though things didn't start out perfectly.
Next, we've got the word architecture.
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 This word refers to the art and science of designing buildings. It's both a profession and a field of study.
Yep. In the dialogue, the man says, "If I hadn't studied architecture, I would have become an artist," meaning he chose a more practical or structured career instead of a creative dream. It sounds like he may have some regret about that decision.
A common sentence might be, "She studied architecture at university and now works at a design firm." This shows how studying architecture leads directly into a career in building design.
And finally, let's look at "I'll drink to that."
I'll drink to that.
I'll drink to that.
This is a casual and friendly way to agree with someone or show support. It's often said when raising a glass in celebration or agreement.
In the dialogue, the man says it after the other man says, "I have no regrets." It's like saying, "Yeah, I agree with that completely."
If someone says, "To good health and great friends," you can say, "I'll drink to that." In this case, the speaker is enthusiastically agreeing and celebrating the sentiment expressed.
All right, now let's listen to the dialogue again and try to catch those expressions in context.
This is the good life. We have it good, don't you think?
Yeah, of course. Although, don't you ever wonder what could have been?
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes I think of how things could have turned out if I had done things a little differently.
For example?
Like, for example, if I hadn't studied architecture, I would have become an artist like I wanted to.
I see. Yeah, now that I think of it, I wouldn't have gotten married if I hadn't moved to this town and met Sally.
You see, everything happens for a reason. We wouldn't even have met if I hadn't been in that car accident 10 years ago.
Well, I have no regrets.
I'll drink to that.
Listening again, it's interesting how one small event, like a car accident or a move, can change the entire course of someone's life.
Yeah, and those thoughts come up naturally when people feel grateful or nostalgic.
And I like how they weren't bitter about the past. They talked about what could have been, but still showed appreciation for how things turned out.
Exactly. This time, instead of phrases or vocabulary, we're going to break down a really useful grammar point from the dialogue.
All right, now let's take a deep dive into the grammar behind a lot of the sentences in today's dialogue.
Yeah, you probably noticed a pattern like, "If I hadn't done this, I would have done that." That's called the third conditional.
Exactly, and it's super useful when we're talking about imaginary situations in the past. Things that didn't actually happen, but we're imagining what could have happened if they had.
Right. Let's break it down. The structure looks like this.
So here's how it works. Listen carefully, because this is easier to understand when you hear it out loud. You might say something like, "If I had studied harder, I would have passed the test." The first part, "If I had studied harder," talks about something that didn't actually happen. And the second part, "I would have passed the test," talks about the imaginary result. So the basic rhythm is something like, "If I had done A, I would have done B."
So if you're just listening, hear how it sounds. If I had studied harder, I would have passed the test. That's a classic third conditional sentence.
So to be clear, what really happened is, I didn't study hard, and I didn't pass the test. But I'm using this grammar to imagine a different version of the past, like an alternate history. It's not real, it's just a what if.
Or this one, if she hadn't missed the train, she would have arrived on time.
So, in real life, she did miss the train, and she didn't arrive on time, but we're thinking about the what if.
And that's exactly what the guys in the dialogue were doing. Like when he said, "If I hadn't studied architecture, I would have become an artist."
Which means he did study architecture and he didn't become an artist. But in a parallel universe, who knows?
Exactly. All right, now let's take a look at some more examples.
Example 1.
If we had left earlier, we would have caught the bus.
Example 2. If I hadn't eaten so much, I wouldn't have felt sick.
Example 3.
If they had listened to the weather report, they would have brought umbrellas.
All of those are great. And remember, you can also switch the order. We would have caught the bus if we had left earlier.
Yep. Just don't forget the commas when you start with if.
Oh, and one more thing. This structure always talks about the past, not the present or future. So don't say, if I studied, I would have passed. That mixes up the tenses.
Good catch. That would actually be a second conditional mixed with a third, and it gets confusing. And just a quick note, this grammar point can be tricky. Even if you understand it in your head, using it naturally in conversation takes time.
Yeah, totally. It's not something you master overnight. But one great way to get used to it is to start making your own sentences. Try talking about your life. Like, if I hadn't gone to that school, I wouldn't have met my best friend.
Exactly. Once you can use it to talk about your own experiences, it gets easier to use in other situations too.
So don't worry if it feels a little awkward at first. Just keep practicing and you'll get the hang of it.
All right, let's listen to the dialogue one more time and see how many third conditional sentences you can spot.
This is the good life. We have it good, don't you think?
Yeah, of course. Although, don't you ever wonder what could have been?
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes I think of how things could have turned out if I had done things a little differently.
For example?
Like, for example, if I hadn't studied architecture, I would have become an artist like I wanted to.
I see. Yeah, now that I think of it, I wouldn't have gotten married if I hadn't moved to this town and met Sally.
You see, everything happens for a reason. We wouldn't even have met if I hadn't been in that car accident 10 years ago.
Well, I have no regrets.
I'll drink to that.
All right, we're back. Hopefully, today's episode helped you really understand how to use the third conditional, the grammar we use to talk about those what-if situations in the past.
Yeah. These are really useful if you want to express regret or curiosity about how things might have turned out.
And it's a great reminder that even though we can imagine different paths, it's okay to be happy with where we are now.
Right. Life is full of twists and turns. Even if we sometimes wonder what if, it's important to appreciate the present.
And who knows? Maybe everything really does happen for a reason.
That's a nice thought. Before we wrap up, let's each share an experience using today's grammar.
Oh, okay. If I hadn't skipped my morning class in college that one day, I never would have met my best friend. We both ended up in the cafeteria at the same time. Totally random.
That's awesome. Okay, mine's a bit more embarrassing. If I hadn't stayed up all night watching movies before my first job interview, I would have made a better first impression. I was so sleepy I forgot the manager's name.
Oof, that's rough. But hey, it's all part of life, right?
Totally. So for our listeners, try thinking of your own examples. It really helps the grammar stick.
And remember, even if you understand the structure, it takes time to use it naturally. That's totally normal.
Yep. Start small, use your own life, and keep practicing. You'll get there.
All right, that's it for today's episode. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review.
We'll be back soon with more real-life English conversations.
See you next time.
Bye.